morning. Good morning. It's nice to see all of you here this morning on a beautiful day in North Carolina. As Liz said, I am now teaching at North Carolina Central University School of Law. I teach environmental law along with some other things. As a matter of fact, one of my students is here, Stacy Carlos, who works for the City of Raleigh Transportation Department. But what I wanted to talk about today is I spent 8 years as the mayor in Chapel Hill, and during that time I had the opportunity to, spend a lot of time working for the public. And one of the things that I learned is that being mayor is like, really like other jobs, which is that you get familiar with it, you get used to it, you understand it, and you start to think that everybody knows everything that you know about your job. It's just like, really, just like any job. But the fact is that people don't know everything that you know. They don't have the same perspective that you have. And so I want to talk today about something that I think most people really don't think about, but that I had the opportunity to think about in my role. And that is how fundamental transportation really is to the way that we live our daily lives. The way we get around, the ease with which we do it, the expense that it takes, the time that it takes, the joy or the hassle that it involves. It's just basic to all of our lives every day. But it's usually an invisible thing, because the decisions that affect our transportation options are decisions that have been made years and really often decades in advance of when they actually have an impact on our lives. And for example, if you live in a cul-de-sac on a large lot, you probably don't have sidewalks, and you certainly don't have access to the bus system or to a rail system. And that's not your decision. I mean, really, it's not fundamentally your decision. It may be your decision as to where to live, but most people don't think very much about why the land use decisions were made that were made a long time ago. In the Triangle, we're going to be doing a lot of building in the future. We're going to be making a lot of choices about how people will live for many, many decades into the future. That's because we expect our population to grow, as I think all of you know, by about 1 million people over the next 15 years or so, 15 or 20 years. That's a significant number of people really in any context, but certainly in a region that's currently around 1.5 million people. That's a lot of new accommodations in a lot of different ways. So the way that we decide to grow, the choices that we make now, the choices that we make not just about roads, and not just about rail, but about the location and the configuration of houses and offices and grocery stores and schools, all of that that we call land use, those decisions are decisions about our future. And if we're smart about how we grow, then we're going to give ourselves freedom. That's the way I conceive of land use choices. It's about giving ourselves freedom in the future. The freedom that comes with options. And the kinds of options that we would have would be, maybe sometimes drive to work, maybe sometimes take the bus to work, maybe possibly walk to work, or ride your bike to work, or partly walk, partly take the bus, and maybe someday take a train, maybe carpool, maybe walk down a greenway. That's the freedom to be liberated from one choice, which is drive to work. That's the freedom to be liberated from gas stations and traffic jams. If we want, I mean, I think that that's part of the message that most people need to hear, which is that it's not about dictating. You need to take the bus. It's not about dictating. You need to take a light rail system. It's about having the choice. And maybe sometimes you ride the bus, and sometimes you ride your bike, and sometimes you drive. My wife works in Research Triangle Park, and literally that's true. Sometimes she drives, and sometimes she takes the bus, and sometimes, although I wish she wouldn't, she rides her bike. A few years ago, the U.S. Conference of Mayors declared Chapel Hill America's most livable city. when Cohen's back there from Chapel Hill planning. But I bring this up for a couple of reasons. The first is, having been around a lot of mayors, I know that they all think their city is the best city in the world. Not just in America, the best city in the world. And so it's not easy for a group of mayors to say somebody else's city is a great city. But that's what they did. That's what they said. Chapel Hill is America's most livable city. And that leads me to my second point, which is, well, first of all, I think it is America's most livable city, but the reason that they thought so is because of the bus system. And I mean that literally. They sent a delegation, the U.S. Conference of Mayors sent a delegation to Chapel Hill, really to the Triangle, and what they were just dumbfounded by was the bus system. And we all know that this is a great place to live. But what they thought made the place livable was a robust transportation system, a robust public transportation system. They understand that a great place to live requires that somebody think long and hard about the fundamentals of daily life, and that transportation is basic to that. A good bus system is just, I mean, as you all know, it's just one step. I hope that someday we really do have a network of buses and light rail, sidewalks and greenways, and roads, and all sorts of transportation choices that interconnect this area. We can envision that, we can build that, and it's up to us to be leaders in making that happen. And so today, as we kick off Smart Commute, this is a reminder to use the transportation options that we have now, but also to think about what we could have and what we could be, and how we might make our lives better, and how we can point the way to a future that makes this place that we all love an even better home for us and all of those who are going to be joining us. So thanks very much, and it's a pleasure to be here.